and welcome Radio Zindagi listeners. I welcome you all to yet another episode of Illuminating Mind Matters with BASANT. BASANT, which is Bay Area's South Asian network of therapists. So it is a non-profit organization which raise awareness and advocate for the mental health issues that affect the South Asian community. They also help community members with educational resources to help them connect with culturally competent mental health professionals. So, with that said about Basant, I would like to also introduce my host. Shalini Dayal would be hosting this show, and she is a marriage family therapist. And before I hand it over to her, let me just give out the information how you can contact Basant. So, their website is basantnow.org, and the number you can call is 510-770-6223. And you listen to this show every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1 p.m., where Basant brings the questions from community, the efforts community is doing, and the solutions to it. So with that, I'll hand over to Shalini. Over to you, Shalini.
Thank you, Vedika, and welcome Asavri and Elise, and thank you for joining me this weekend for the recording of this show. For through Illuminating Mind Matters, and the segment of the show is voices of a high school senior and a freshman in college. And with this, I would like to introduce our guest, Asavri. Asavri is a senior at Mission San Jose High School and a proud member of the MSJ Mental Health Committee. The committee works to improve the conversation around mental health on campus through various school events, most prominently the annual MSJ Mental Health Panel. Outside of the Mental Health Committee, Asavri is an avid volunteer, researcher, and track runner. So welcome and thank you for your time. Elise Davis is a freshman at UCSD, and she graduated high school and entered her first year of college in the peak of the pandemic. Since moving to San Diego, she's picked up surfing and has been able to delve into her academic interests of programming and cognitive science. She looks forward to getting to experience genuine college life next year and plans to join the school's intramural volleyball team as a fun way to make up for the past year in isolation. So thank you both for joining us, and welcome again to a second segment of Voices through Illuminating Mind Matters at Basant. So question, starting with both of you. What have been your experiencing? And I'll start with you, Asavri, as a graduating high school senior and through this pandemic this last 1 year.
It's been a very interesting experience, to say the least. I think pros of it was during first semester especially, it was a little bit less stress when I think college apps and last minute standardized testing and all the classes were going on. And that was kind of something that we also had a little bit of distance learning last year. So it was a little easier to adjust this time coming around. Of course, the cons are we had to lose some of our important senior events like senior homecoming, multicultural week, and just having the chance to interact with our friends and our teachers on a day-to-day basis. I guess the good part about it now is we're getting back into in-person sports and we're going to have a nice graduation, but it has definitely been a year like no other. And I guess I don't have it to compare to any other kind of senior year. So it's been interesting, but I think a lot of us have been adjusting to it.
Thank you, Asavri. Same question for you, Elise.
Yeah.
What have your experiences been?
It was really interesting for me. Unlike Asavri, I did have kind of a comparison of my first half of senior year being completely normal and incredibly fun. And to have it cut short, there were a lot of short-term things that felt so detrimental in the moment. Graduation being canceled, prom being canceled, it felt like continuous blows to the chest. College being in isolation was definitely the biggest one, and one that I wasn't expecting even, as everyone was just telling me to look forward to the knowns, and the known at that time was starting college, and by the end of the summer it was clear that that wasn't even a known. It definitely made me grow in ways that I wasn't expecting. I'm an incredibly social person, and trying to make friends was a really different experience. And I found that I grew a lot of courage to just be upfront with people and ask if they wanted to be my friend and hang out and do things that I previously would have felt really uncomfortable doing. And I think that it's helped me grow socially a lot, actually, despite the intense isolation. So I am grateful for that.
I think that is wonderful that both of you, the way you're describing about the pros and cons and stepping outside your comfort zone and growing socially. So, and even though that wouldn't be the normal route, one would take, but here, these are definitely not normal times. From both of you, I mean, I think I'll start with Elise, since you talked about the whole social experiences. What did you hear from your peers as well? It's about their social interaction or the lack of and support. How did they find and you find support? Was it from within the family, extended family, circle of friends? Where did you look for support through this very unusual times?
Yeah, so speaking for myself, I definitely ended up relying on my family a lot for that. And I called them pretty much every day, which wasn't something I was expecting to do once I got to college, but I found that it was the only thing getting me through the day. That being said, once I'd been here for a couple of months, I found a best friend, and we really connected with each other. And it was great to have someone else. It was a codependent relationship, and it didn't feel taxing on either of us, because when someone texted, "Hey, I'm feeling really bad. Can I just come hang out in your room and so that I get my homework done?" It was mutual. The other person was probably also feeling really bad and needed some support in that moment. And so it created really strong bonds with people. And I'm really grateful for that, and that I found someone that I connected so well with.
Oh, that is wonderful to hear that you were able to reach out to your family and also to make some strong connections at college as well. And I'm going to circle back a little bit later during the program and ask you questions about messages for parents and families. I mean, what they can do to support teens through this times, because you have definitely gone through it. So thank you for sharing that and being so candid. I appreciate that. Asavri, how about you? How did
Yeah.
you, yes, find support?
I think definitely from my family as well. Mostly, I think they were kind of forced to deal with me more because I'm at home. But also, just I guess speaking on a broader notion first with my whole school, I'm very close with everybody at our, well, not everybody at our school, but I think our school is very close with one another. And our teachers have actually seen that in terms of just performance with distance learning, we've had the most A's that we've ever had, but we've also had the most failing grades that we've ever had. So it's almost like it really either really works for you, or it just really doesn't work for you. And there's not many students who are in that gray area. And I think through mental health committee, what we've kind of, I guess, figured are probably the most notable reasons for this is one, just the amount of close instruction that students need from their teacher, two, their mental health, which is dealing with isolation, and then three, the resources that they have at home. So I think we've had two kind of extremes going on in our school. And in spring, now that we've begun, I guess, transitioning back to some of our school activities, all of our sports are pretty much back on now, except we just have to use masks and stuff. It's made me realize how much I miss just having that in-person interaction. It's really not the same over Zoom. I mean, for a while it was like, okay, this is better than nothing. But once you get back and you actually are able to talk with people and there's no voice breaking or internet connection loss, it's just one of the best things ever. And I think being grateful for those little things again has really made it so much more bearable to get through distance learning. And at the same time, I think although we have all these, particularly for seniors, I'm talking about in my experience, we've had to lose a lot of things that for many years we were really looking forward to after all of our hard work and having, just going through freshman, sophomore, junior year. And then, we were really looking forward to just having that senior year where we could, do all of these events like multicultural week, prom, homecoming in the beginning. And I think when all those things were wiped away, it was really hard, but we were expecting it more than last year's seniors, of course. But one thing that I've noticed of what seniors are kind of doing to, I guess, adjust to that is we're realizing the kind of situation that we're in. You know, this is a really difficult situation for our entire world. It's not like a one community thing. And for us to, I guess, it's a difficult situation, but it could have been so much worse for us. Like right now, we're really just worrying about things like homecoming and prom. Of course, those are important to seniors, but we also have to kind of get some perspective, I guess, with where we are in this time in history, if that makes sense. Like right now, the COVID outbreak, for example, in India, which is really close to where I feel, it's really, really bad over there. And a lot of our close family and family friends have been affected, and it's escalating so crazy over there that it's hard to think about things like prom, you know? So I guess even last week, I just went to Levi Stadium to get my vaccine. There were so many people getting their vaccine over there. That made me so happy seeing how many people were getting vaccinated. So I think it's, for my year especially, we found different things to be grateful for. And although we missed a couple of senior events, we're gonna, when we look back on this time, I guess years from now, our senior year, we're gonna remember all these, I guess, amazing ways that people kind of stepped up during the difficult times that we're going through. And we're just gonna have those in our memories instead. And that might be different and unique, but it's also a unique year. So it's tough losing some of those events, but it's also amazing seeing the way that our community has kind of stepped up in a difficult time. And we've just had to look at things a little bit differently and grow up a little bit, but that's how we're kind of adjusting.
Thank you for sharing that and having such a positive attitude and perspective through all this year of new things and losses. Because I hear, seniors last year were just like, it was literally at the brink, at the end of the year. There was not much time left, and there was no time to adjust to the new normal. And boom, the axe was dropped. Everything shut down. And suddenly all the activities that were planned after culmination of 12 years of hard work was suddenly just gone. So I think the blow was much harder, and they didn't have much time to adjust and take stock. So I'm going to ask this question. I want to hear from both of you. What message that you would like to send to share with the parents about how to show compassion and support to the seniors who have gone through and are going through a loss of a lot of their activities, and whatever was important for them. But before I launch into that question, I'm going to bring in Vedika, and I'm going to ask her, hey, this platform is open for you. Please share like your observations, questions for our young ladies here. So what would you say?
So, Shalini, first of all, I am in awe. Like, I am listening to these young ladies talking so clearly, speaking their mind out, and they are so positive about what is going through and giving such a great message. So, thank you for bringing them, and thank you guys for speaking to us, opening your mind. And so, listeners who are listening to us, I would just like to remind you all that you are listening to Illuminating Mind Matters with Basant, and we bring this beautiful show to you every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1 p.m., where you listen about what's happening in the community, what is needed in the community, and what people are thinking about those things. So all the things which matter. So with that, if you would like to contact Basant, if you would like to know more about it, it's a Bay Area South Asian network of therapists. So the website is basantnow.org, or you can just give them a call at 510-770-6223. So Shalini, without stopping you further, because I want to listen to what these ladies have in their mind, let's start again.
Thank you. And so I want to direct this question at both Elise and Asavri, is what message would you like to share with the parents, with the adults in the community, in the homes, in the families who haven't experienced the changes, the abrupt changes, and some of the losses of the activities and events that our seniors have gone through and are going through? What would you like to say to them?
Sorry, you
Elise,
can go
yes.
Okay, I think I really don't feel qualified to tell parents anything, but I guess I'll tell them that, for one, I think it's kind of the same thing that I would tell to the other kids my age or other seniors and just students who are going through distance learning and isolation is one, to just be grateful and celebrate the little things that happen, in such a difficult year. I think it's when we're all in isolation, especially as teenagers, we tend to overthink everything. And when we're all alone and we don't have any distractions for much of the year, we were pretty much just in our homes and, really had a mind like trapped inside of our home basically. And so everything was kind of running and just thinking about all of the things. For me, like for example, as seniors, we were really thinking about college and we didn't really have anything else to think about. So we thought about college. And you just start thinking about everything and going a little bit hard on yourself. It's really what I'm trying to get at is when you have, for parents, I guess, especially parents of teenagers, just try to get them to go outside a little bit. I think even just a 10-minute walk, try to do some things with them that you probably didn't have time to do before. All the time they were spending at school, they're now spending at home with you. Just be grateful for the little things, celebrate the little things at school. Talk to them about what's going on, even if they say nothing, it's really nothing. There's probably something going on at school, and just listen to them, talk to them, see what's going on, and just know that they are overthinking things. They're usually going hard on themselves, and just have that conversation with them. And also to the students, I'd say to them that things are and will continue to get better. I mean, like a year ago, we were all terrified and knew next to nothing about the quote unquote invisible enemy. And now we're vaccinated almost 40% of the US population. So, I mean, of course, there's still really hard times going on elsewhere in the world that we need to not forget about. But we also need to remember that everyone's really trying to step up and work hard to move forward and to just focus on the little things that happen in your own personal life, and just know that things are going to get better, and give yourself credit for adjusting to a pandemic that was thrown on you with no warning. And you've made it this far, so keep pushing through.
Thank you, Asavri. I think you hit both the points that I had in mind. Is like you talked about all the learnings that you had and also the compassion, and giving yourself some compassion, and also families, parents, for the adults to be aware, to have conversations, and to be supportive of their teens who are going through this, to be kind towards them, that because this is a big thing that has happened for them, because there's no point of reference in their lives, and this is something all our kids and teens and adults will remember for the rest of their lives. So thank you for sharing those wonderful points. How about you, Elise? What message would you like to share with the parents of seniors and teens who are going through high school and are graduating, since you have gone through that and experienced that, and nothing like this has ever happened? So what would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak on my experience with my parents and how we worked our conversations out. For me, though, I found that it was helpful to just be heard sometimes. Like me and Asavri have both mentioned, that there's a lot bigger things going on in the world than prom being canceled and such, but that doesn't mean that prom isn't important to me, to other people, and it's when you feel those feelings of being disappointed that something like prom or graduation is being canceled, sometimes you're already in turmoil of being disappointed, but also feeling guilty for being disappointed because, well, you're alive and your family's alive, and that's a lot to ask for, it feels like these days. And so you're already feeling that turmoil, and sometimes being reminded of, well, hey, you shouldn't feel upset because there are bigger things going on in the world, makes it harder. And so I found that reminding my parents that sometimes I just wanted to be heard and that I appreciated their effort, but that there really wasn't a solution that they could tell me that would make me feel better. I just wanted their support. And two, as this was more in the beginning when things were actively being canceled, and once I moved here, it was easy to grow apart sometimes, especially after the first months had passed and I found real friendships here. It was good to have them reach out to me and check in on me, saying, hey, how are things going? Because just because I've pulled away doesn't necessarily mean things are going well for me. And it's nice to not always have to feel bad about initiating contact. So yeah, those are some things that I'm just really grateful that my parents were able to do for me. And
You're absolutely right, Elise, and thank you for being so candid and sharing that parents, like, yes, there are bigger things, and parents also have many things that are going on for them. The teens just want to be acknowledged for their feelings, for what their experiences are. It's feelings are neither right or wrong, it's their feelings, and they're allowed to feel whatever they're feeling through this process and to be there. Like you both said, is for families to be supportive. You both pointed out that it is very important for families to be able to hear and support the teenagers going through these experiences, and not just the seniors and freshmen in college, but also teens as a whole, the teens who are struggling, and I'm sure you have friends and that you have seen and peers, and their struggles, like Asavri, like you pointed out, there's it seems like there's two extremes on the spectrum about grades, the high achievers and the ones who are actually struggling with their grades. And a lot of parents, we get the feedback that you got to just try harder, you could just do some more, you can make this grade up a little bit better. Why, how come you went from such a great student to not doing as well? So we do hear that. So on that note, what would you like to suggest to parents? What would you say to the parents about, specifically I'm talking about grades, because there's a lot of pressure in our community in the Bay Area on the students to achieve, especially during the pandemic. Do more, do better. What would you like to say to the parents from the perspective of a teen? And Asavri, Elise, yes, go ahead, Elise.
sorry.
Yes.
I guess from my perspective, there's a fine line between feeling like, I'm proud of myself for what I've accomplished, but as I have been reminded sometimes by my parents, is that putting in a little bit more effort now causes a lot less stress later down the line, especially in college. I know senior year, like second semester grades tend to feel like they don't matter, but at least for me, wanting to go into graduate school, they do. And you're able to be supportive while also talking through possible solutions on how putting an effort could be made, like work smarter, not harder type thing. Being reminded that there are resources and looking into them with your students can be really helpful, because sometimes it all just feels very overwhelming for them to go out and find these on their own. And that was something that really worked for me, to be able to have that conversation with my parents.
Yeah, I would say for students, especially who I guess are getting those or performing lower than they usually would have been had they been in school, I guess telling them to just work harder, that's the easier thing to do. And that's probably what you would have said had it been a normal year, but it's not a normal year. And they've had to adjust to, or not try to adjust to, a really new form of learning. And it either works for you or it doesn't. And it's just dependent on how much instruction you need by the teacher, and telling them it would be better if to just give them a helping hand, just to support them, work with them, their teachers. The teachers are figuring this out just as much as we are, I feel like. And, we're trying our best, but it might not always just be because the actual material that you're learning in school is difficult, but it might just be having the motivation to do it, might be having the focus to do it. And learning from home is very different from learning from school, not just
Yes.
the material, it's the people who are around you. At school, you have your friends who you can talk to in the middle, you have your teachers who you can just say hi to, even if you don't have them in your class. So the environment is completely different. And some things are bound to change when that happens. So be there as a support, and try, just be there as a support, and during a time when they really need it.
So one last question I have for both of you. If you could share one message for the teens like a coping strategy, something, self-care, something about self-care. One thing from each one of you, that's the message that you would like to send to our teenagers. What would it be?
I'd say go outside.
Okay.
I know it sounds
Good.
like whatever, you don't want to do it, but your house can be suffocating and you won't
Yes.
even notice.
Go outside.
Go outside.
How about you, Elise? Thank you.
Honestly, I 100% agree. It's what keeps me sane.
Go outside.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I could talk to you for much longer. I could like get more perspective and deeper. You have been both wonderful. So thank you again for being here and spending your time with us. Our next topic for our listeners for next week will be the teen perspective on coping with the pandemic, and along with the therapist who's going to be answering some questions the parents have on how to cope with this situation and these times. And with that, thank you for listening to us. And I'm going to give it back to Vedika to wrap it up.
Thank you so much, Elise and Asavri. And it was wonderful listening to your thoughts and your learnings for this year. And thank you, Shalini, for bringing them. So, listeners, you were listening to Illuminating Mind Matters with Basant, and we will get back to you every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1 p.m., where you can listen the topics for the community, by the community, and of the community. And if you would like to know more about Basant, then contact them. So basantnow.org is where you should log on, or just give them a call, 510-770-6223. So this is RJ Vedika signing off. सुनते रहिए रेडियो जिंदगी, जिए जा।